Good afternoon. I want to start out by, kind of making a statement here on behalf of our full coaching staff. Matt Larson and his team, the president's office, President Cook, just, the state of North Dakota. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody out west dealing with the adversity of the fires and things. I mean, we get rocking along with football and we forget that there's other things going on, like hurricanes in Tampa and fires out west in North Dakota. So, hopefully things turn to a positive. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people out there. North Dakota football game this weekend. Great win for the Bison fans and for our team. I'm specifically excited for our seniors, the guys that had worked for 365 days to kind of get that off their chest, and I know we play them November 8th, 2025, and so they can sit on that one like we had to last year. Offensively, really impressive how we were able to stay ahead of the chains and dictate tempo and pace in this game. And I don't know, oftentimes third down gets so elevated in the success there, but without staying on schedule and being ahead of the chains, it's difficult to convert. And we were 69% on third downs, but that was solely because of the production on first and second down. Gold zone, again, really productive, 100% scoring, 75% TDs. We had success scoring the ball, but the main thing in that game, I think, was we were able to dictate the terms of ball control, conversions that led to 34 minutes of time of possession, which was +9 over North Dakota. Defensively, I think just moving forward, there's been so much improvement in some things that aren't real fancy to talk about, but block destruction, penetration, fundamentals and technique, and then a few personnel adjustments have really led to us taking the proper steps forward to where we're going to need to be moving into this weekend. I do think the defensive staff deserves a lot of credit for that. They could have went and looked at some more blitzes and some more coverages and some different things to do with the front, and they just rolled their sleeves up, and it's been about fundamentals and technique, and I really appreciate that. They were 62% win rate. Code Green was on first and second down. And we limited the explosive plays to 2, which is below our goal, and that was a big deal. And then special teams, I'm not real pleased with giving up the punt, but I got to say, they came out and set the tone. TK Marshall's individual effort, along with the effort of everybody else staying with their guy, on a broken return, was just a tone setter for us. And I know that elevated the guys because of the leader TK is and the support he has from our football team. And then the opening kickoff that we had, when we kicked the ball off, the physicality showed up right there in that moment, getting a couple of those guys knocked down on the ground, and that wasn't the case a year ago. We have taken a deep dive into our penalties. I'm not real happy with where we're at there, but it may be a little bit of fault of my own. I've asked our defense, I've asked our guys to play on an edge and to be a little more physical and to play with an edge and to get some of this nastiness back. Now, I think we got to rein in the discipline aspect. We've had 2.6 aggressive fouls a game, which are holding, defensive holding, those kind of things. But we've also had procedural things, 2.2 per game, that most certainly need to get cleaned up. Those are alignment issues. Those are the encroachments on defense this last week and some false start stuff. With SIU, Coach Hill's been a good friend of mine. He's one of the first guys I reached out to when I got here. I've had many conversations with him at many satellite camps. He's someone I respect. I never wish the injury bug to pop up on anybody if they've had some things at quarterback. But, last week they still went for 500 yards, 22 first downs, and just weren't able to punch it in. So they have our full attention. I think moving forward, we've got to be road warriors on this thing. This trip can be a little difficult with the hour travel after pregame meal to the stadium and so forth. And so a big thing for us is just, continuing to focus on us, but we've got to be road ready and we got to wake up ready to win. Pregame meal will be at 9:30 in the morning with an hour trip to follow. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
You mentioned trying to rein in the aggressiveness a little bit with the penalty aspect. How do you kind of get guys to reel that in without giving up that aggressiveness edge that you wanted to instill?
Yeah, I looked at all of them, and I don't think there's anything, Enoch's celebration I'm not real happy about, and he knows that. Eli Mozart's penalty this weekend was not that bad. And there were some late whistles. There were some whistles that were not aggressively blown enough. I thought there were some spot things that I thought were a little shaky. And so there's a fine line. I tell you this, I want us to be aggressive. I want us to be physical. And so when you're in that world of trying to leave the world in physicality, there's a fine line. I'm more concerned about the procedural things and then the lack of fundamentals and technique when it comes to 5 O-line holding calls and 2 holding calls with the receivers. Those things tend to sneak up on me a little bit more than the 2 roughing the passers that, I did get clarification on. We'll do better. I just didn't. 50-50 calls, right? And so we got to be a little bit more aware when we're hitting the quarterback.
Coach, you talked about this sometimes being a difficult trip last year. UND, after winning this game, really struggled the following week, and they're them and you're you. But how do you get up for a game where the environment, there might not be 20,000 people at this game, and you're going to have to bring your own energy, and you just unloaded a ton of emotional ammo on beating your in-state rival?
Yeah, I think you address it right away on Monday, and that's what we did, right? Like, we're writing a story of 2024, right? We've got a good group of seniors. That's why I think I'm okay kind of carrying that message, right? Like, what do you want the legacy to be? And we have to value and respect each and every opportunity and what it takes to win. Now, the part of, bringing your own juice and stuff like that, I got my eyes on who's practicing right. Because we won't take anybody on the strip who's not thinking right, who don't want to get all dressed up and go to battle and have some fun with it. And I think that's really, really critical. One of the things I hope that's written years from now is, man, the guys were ready to go most weeks. You didn't see a sluggish start. You didn't see a lack of emotion. And I think that's the job of the head coach along with the leadership on the football team. And we started with a great Monday night with a lot of activity, added activity, quite frankly. And I know we got a ways to go to our bye week, but we added 2 periods of practice just to keep our bodies moving. And we wasn't contact-based, but we did some things last night.
There's another big week for the defensive line between the depth and just how they've executed. How much credit for the success in Valley Play so far goes to the guys up front on defense?
Well, everything starts up front in football. It's like, screen plays, pin and pulls, jet sweeps. You simply got to get the play started. Right, when there's penetration and running backs are having to flinch prior to being able to press the line of scrimmage and so forth, then you're winning. And I'm so pleased with the amount of penetration we're getting. I'm so pleased with how our fundamentals are moving forward with not only Nick Gazer's guys, but with Carlton Littlejohn's guys. Actually, one of the only runs that came out. If we were better technically, that thing is going to get swallowed up in a hurry. And so really pleased. We talked about being deep early in the year, and we just didn't see it, right? And so for maybe it to start to take shape right now, that's okay. We're still writing the story.
Coach, a few weeks ago you talked about wanting to see this defense step up. What have you seen in the last couple of weeks that have you guys excited about this defense?
Well, I think the takeaway is number one. We +5 or +6. We're in the top 10 nationally now. Man, that play in the third quarter, right? That's what it's all about. I don't think defense is always going to be about keeping yards and points always off the board, but it's about creating a possession for the offense in a favorable situation. That would be number one. Number two, I just see us breaking on the ball a little better. Crumby had a great break. Again, they ran a really difficult concept into the boundary there, and we break on it and we get it out. And so there's just some moments in time that are starting to create some momentum for the offense and for the football team, and that's what's exciting. And then they're generating some emotion, and they're impacting the football team with some big-time plays, strip sack, TFLs in the backfield, running backs being slammed down, and man, those are game changers. Jeff?
Cam's ankle, what have you seen from him the last couple of days?
Well, he's going to be tentative on it yesterday, so he's in a boot. He didn't have to be in the boot yesterday, and so we'll be real patient with him today, and I was told that by Wednesday he'll be up and running, but he's in there being diligent, and I don't really have a good answer for that except for I'd be shocked if he doesn't lace him up and play.
In fact, you have a guy who's in his, 4th year behind him. Does that add a little comfort for you?
Not only that he's a 4th-year guy, he can get the job done. He's proven that in scrimmages. He's proven it in live action. This ain't his first time he'll go out and take a snap. So we want Cam to be out there right now, but we are fully invested and in trust in Cole if he has to play.
Would you be more willing to be careful with Cam and not play him Saturday if it comes to that because you have Cole behind him?
No, I just don't think we're good enough. I think that we have to go win every one of these games, and we've got to take everybody to the party that's ready to rock and roll, and Cam has earned the right to be the starter, and I think there's something to be said about a quarterback that goes out there and plays tough. I grew up watching that, with Brett Favre and things like that, and he's playing well right now. We would gladly have Cam go and play him and rock and roll.
Mentioned earlier defensively with some personnel changes. Any specific personnel changes while you think?
Sam Young, the strong safety.
That's the one.
And I do think this. Kubitz, man, he runs the ball down. It's the one thing I've noticed now after 6 weeks, so that one run comes out, and Kubitz is the guy that runs it down. The sideline play where Benson set a great edge early in the game. They threw a bubble screen out there on their first third down. Okay, Benson makes the play first and foremost, but Kubitz gets the ball to the ground. And so I've been really impressed with his ability to run and tackle it. Those two things have really seemed to work good. And then I think we're getting more production out of the Sam position by playing two people. Enoch, I think, was in the 22 play count range, leaving Benson with whatever, and then nickel, with the remaining plays. So that combination of things. I haven't seen any opportunities for the free safety necessarily, like 4 verticals and a free safety having to play with 1 high defense. We're still working on that exact combination of where those reps will get spread at free safety.
Coach, you were able to, especially obviously you have a tremendous history here, but you've been working other places for a while, able to retain a lot of your assistant coaches, but that didn't end up being the case on the support staff side. You had to redo a lot of that. Can you just speak to kind of the job that those support staff guys doing, whether it's the QC guys or the new recruiting guys, just how that's been going?
It's going so well that I think next year when I've already set the calendar for the whole next year. I don't even think I'll have to look at it. Derek Lucan's a rock star, our operations guy, and there hasn't been one blemish on a trip. I haven't been concerned about timing, meals, facilities at hotels. I mean, he really has been really good. And then, we've managed a lot of different things with the Stampede. We've had cancer survivors. We've had a child with, battling a terrible disease. And, I've shook hands, taken pictures, and smiled, and everything else has been set up by Derek. And then the recruiting department continues to be impressive as far as getting tasks and things out to the staff and to myself, my call list every week. It's just been boom, boom, boom. And so I'm really pleased with those guys. They still have room to grow. And then I would also add Zach Winter, learning and growing here initially in the first month with camp has been really good on game day the last 2 weeks, and he continues to improve. And Rachel replacing Margie, she's been awesome. I still appreciate seeing Margie, but those guys have been tremendous. I appreciate you bringing that up. They don't get enough credit, along with the equipment staff. Trish, Shannon has gotten these guys back and healthy, and everybody in this outfit is we possess a genuine appreciation and respect for everybody and the role that they have in this organization, and so do our players, and they are all firing on full throttle right now.
It'll be over 5,000 miles for you guys this year, obviously including this week. It's kind of approaching Big Ten country these days.
Yeah.
How do you handle that many miles? Is that a factor at all?
Only other time I've ever thought about it is when I listen to the people who bet on sports radio, and they talk about, look at the conferences that travel the most. They struggle. I haven't given that much thought for us. I think our process and the changes that we've made with our schedule as far as a run-through on Fridays, some of the meeting times that we've flipped around have been really good, have been really positive to the seniors. And we've been handling that stuff really well, and I look forward to it.
This is the most miles was 2006. It was over 7,000. That was your first year, right?
Yeah.
What
Was
do you
that the
remember?
year we went away, home?
Southern, yeah, 6 and 7 weeks. What do you remember about that time, if all?
I remember being so excited as a coach that came from the Division III level to be able to get on planes. And at that time, Coach Bull bought me a sports coat. No, I only had one. But to be able to, okay, this is a business trip. I remember being excited about it. I remember being excited at Georgia Southern until we got on the grass and it was about 130 degrees. But all those trips was fascinating for me because it was kind of my first experience being in the South and the food and getting to experience different cultural backgrounds and so forth and so on. And those are still things that I think are exciting about road trips. I really do.
Fullback like Jedry driving the truck.
Well, it's
You
pretty
see him.
interesting. Yeah. Jedry and I had a soda pop together on our last road trip, and I thought that was really neat. You know, the amount of work that he's doing for us right now, basically pro bono, is just another symbol of Bison Nation and the care and the support that we do have. I mean, him and his wife do that, and his brother comes along, and they're phenomenal. We really appreciate what Jedry does for us. That's a good question, Jeff. I really like road trips. I don't mind them at all. Now, as much as I like being at home and playing the game here, I kind of, there's an element of 70 guys getting on a plane along with some support, the administration, and let's go do it. I kind of like that.
Sprained ankle ever sideline you in college?
Oh, nothing. Well, in high school it did. I broke a couple bones for 4 weeks, and I came back the day I got my cast off and played. But no, I got chicken pox, and that was the only start I missed.
A lot have been made, and I think probably rightfully, about Bryce Lance's rise or whatever you might call it. But Mackay Collins is like as far as where I work is concerned, like a top 5 or 6 recruit in team history. I mean, big time 3-star kid, and his rise now from redshirting and then kind of almost redshirting again, and now taking advantage of the opportunities and sort of, yes, Bryce, but also what's happening with Mackay Collins is pretty serious.
Yeah, Mackay, I remember evaluating him and being so stuck in the middle, like, is he going to be a tight end? Is he not going to be a tight end? That kind of thing. And I just think Mackay has done a really good job managing his body, because I do think he could be a guy that could be 240 pounds if we asked him to be. He's getting sharper. He's getting more detailed with his breaks. And then I think what occurs as the ball comes to you and you come up with it, the quarterback gets comfortable and more opportunities come to you. Again, Steve Crutchley has done just a really good job of bringing that group along, developing that group, right? It's still a development process, and I'm so thankful you guys keep bringing the receivers up, and the conversation is about, Coach, you haven't overcome who you lost, because we're doing just fine. And the guys that are staying right now are being developed to their fullest, and the coaches are pouring into them. They're being coachable, they're working extremely hard, and they're taking advantage of their opportunities. Mackay's an awesome kid.
Kind of seen from SIU's offense, right? Like the receiver, I think, is top 10 in receiving yards, but
Yeah.
also now with the true freshman quarterback.
Yeah, I've been paying attention a little bit more to the defense because they're so multiple. They're in and out of 3-3 stack and 4 down, but they can throw the ball, right? Defensively right now, they're giving up 295 yards passing, 156 yards rushing, but when you look at their offensive numbers, they're throwing for 260 and rushing for 150, which is pretty good balance. They're struggling a little bit in the red zone, but they have multiple weapons out wide. And there a lot of them are transfers and some big-time speed, and we're going to have to do a good job keeping the ball in front of us.
Coach, how do obviously you guys are facing a defense that has struggled against the pass. How important is it to keep the balance, though, with your rushing attack and passing attack and not getting out of your normal game plan?
Yeah, I think that you got to take what the defense gives you, number one. And then I'll kind of throw this one out there at you guys. They've had some things in the secondary that they might get fixed. And then all of a sudden, some of these yards come off pretty quick. Good quarterbacks find the open receiver. And that's been a little bit of the case. And then last week, they get hit on a double pass. They've gotten hit on a couple, double moves. I think that those are all things that they potentially could get cleaned up. Those aren't necessarily things that we carry. We're going to have to execute what we do very well. And I would really like to see us continue to be balanced. But maybe if the run game's going to be tough, let's get to the throw game a little bit quicker, or vice versa, right? If it's going to be one of those days where you can run at the bubbles and take advantage of some things, get going on it.
If Cam does have an ankle and goes out there, do you have to have a conversation with Jake Landry about okay, he's got the most rushing touchdowns in the history of the conference for a quarterback. He wants to run the football, or he can certainly run the football, but is it more drop back? Is it less option read? Do you have to sort of sprinkle in something that makes sense for a guy with a bad wheel?
Yeah, Cam is, I think most of Cam's yards have come on more quarterback scramble this year. Maybe it's 50-50. But we haven't directly called his number as much. Now, when we get down on the goal line, we're trying to run +1 run game, guys. I think he'll get in from 3 yards. My inclination is that Cam's going to be 99% healthy for Saturday. If he's less than that, you'd go down a different avenue maybe to start the game, but then we'll do whatever it takes. And then if that means that we have to sprinkle Cole, right now they're putting together a really good package for Cole just in case that he tweaks it or he has to get it retaped. And Cole's managing the base offense really well as well.
You mentioned the quarterback at Southern Illinois going down, but I guess they've had a number of other starters, I read 9 somewhere, 9 starters. Have you ever been in a situation like that in all the stops that you've had where you've lost just a ton of guys? And then how do you got to play the games, it is what it is, but how do you deal with it?
I remember being at Michigan, and we had a few of our guys out, and that wasn't real fun up front. They got after us pretty good. Not particularly. I really don't. Over the years, we've always lost a key element here somewhere along the line, but it's never been a rash. Check that. I do have it. Okay, 2009, the year we struggled, we were down to our 4th, 5th, and 6th linebacker for most of the year. I can remember some of those names, but I won't throw them out there. I think we were a little bit banged up in the secondary at times that year. It wasn't a very good year on defense for injuries.
When you're going up against defense that throws those multiple looks at you, kind of what's the biggest challenge?
Well, we've been dealing with it. If you look at Illinois State was in and out of pressure packages, odd fronts, 4 down. Southern Illinois traditionally has been a little bit multiple. And then I think, I'm trying to remember the last one as well. UND, you had to respect both, that they could do both, but they're more of a 4-down team now. We've got a lot of banked reps from fall camp on Okie and Odd in walkthrough periods and then scouted periods, along with the defense when they would do, real fast tempo or some option football. And so I like our rules and principles holding up against this stuff, but the quarterback's got to be able to go out there, put us in the right call if it's a dual run call, and then our communication up front will be important this week. Not because of crowd noise, but everybody being on the same page of what front it is and what combinations that we are in. That's where the concern lies.
We have a game this week, so I get that, but the South Dakota State game has been announced at 6:30 or 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. That game is sold out. How do you deal with that, knowing that that's ahead?
Yeah.
Even though you have a game this week, what are your thoughts there?
Hopefully the old head ball coach, was pretty slick about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're not going to get into comparisons. We're not going to get into looking ahead. We're not going to get into this score means that score, because we could do that this week, right? Illinois State beat Southern Illinois. NDSU beat Illinois State. You just can't do that in this league. It's too early to know, is it one of the better years for the league, or is it top heavy for the league? And so I've really been, since day one, since I've gotten here, one of the things at the forefront is eliminating distractions and handling and managing social media. Do not ride the highs of social media and do not ride the lows. Right now, our defense needs to stay grounded. They need to go home and eat crumbs. Be allergic to the big meal. That's how simple it is. We know there's some potential big games coming up down the road if we take care of business week to week. Otherwise, they're not such big games. And so the objective this week is Southern Illinois. We put together a really good plan on normal down and distance. We're working on 3rd down and gold zone on defense today. And we're going to keep the present. I respect the question. It's exciting that it's going to be a night game.
Coach, on Saturday, when I was in the tunnel, I heard the excitement that was coming out of the locker room after the win. For you that's been a part of NDSU for so many years, what's it mean for you to be part of this locker room?
Gus Bradley has said it before to me, like, it's so difficult to win. I just hope we never get to the spot where we beat Northern Illinois one year and Coach Kleiman had to, like, pick me up off my collar. We played so poorly on offense. It's just we got to find a way to celebrate all victories. It's really important for our young kids to see, the young freshmen that get to be in there, for some of the hosts. I mean, it's just such a challenge to win, and we're never going to be perfect. Like, I'd love to win 60-0, and they have 0 first downs, and we score on every drive, and it is what it is. But it's awesome to see the emotion come out of the seniors, especially this last week, after losing that game a year ago. That was pure joy, man. And I was really excited, and there were several game balls and several points to point out, and it was super exciting.
How did Rajah come through this game? What's his stat?
Yeah, I think he came through strong, but now it's got to go back to the day-to-day. It's going to be one of these things where we got to manage and massage and really be smart with it, especially with just the potential chance to redshirt him and try to target some of these things that I'm not going to try to put one game ahead of the other, but it kind of the schedule kind of falls to where to have all your weapons, in all the big games, it could come to fruition, but we really got to see how he responds because I'd like him to stay on the gas as far as just finishing his career out on a high note with his buddies.
How has Mason Miller's experience helped out this offensive line?
Well, Mason's so tough. I don't know if you guys caught it on TV or not, but they wanted to go for it on 4th down. And I said something to the effect, he should have did better on 2nd down. And I think he said something back, and I was like, all right, here's a veteran guy. We're kind of on that level of, there's mutual respect, but he's a fiery guy. I like his leadership, and I like his approach daily. I keep telling all the scouts, like, this is the kind of guy that kind of makes it, with the right breaks, a great offseason, and he's tough and scrappy. I love everything he stands for. I thought we had a shot when I walked into the walkthrough, and he had cowboy boots, jeans, and his Letterman's jacket on. And I was like, all right, the Bison today might be all right.
I know you mentioned this a little bit on Saturday. I'm always fascinated, but down the road here, is it a situational thing if you win the toss to, defer about 95% of the time to see at every level of football, but
Yeah.
my game.
My mind was opened up to it a little bit, being at Iowa. The 2-minute thing has really created, and I don't know if you guys are looking at it, but we're awfully productive right now, moving the ball before half and taking some timeouts to get the ball back, being aggressive to get it back, trying to handle those things the right way. But no, I felt like it was important. I'm just confident right now on where the offense is at. Gaining more and more confidence. I am confident in the defense. If you look at it, previously, we sent the defense out there when we were struggling. I said, they're going to get a stop. And we did, right? And so every week is a little bit different. That's a conversation we have on Fridays. I lead that off with my thoughts. I ask for Coach Gazer's input, Coach Grant, Olson, Dan Larson. How do you guys feel about the game plans? And then it starts to be a little bit of battle of who to send first. And then honestly, the other guy that's playing into that is Eli right now. I mean, he's just pounding the ball out of the end zone.
Again, on the Raja deal, is that something where it's just not going to get 100% until the season's over? I mean, there's no 3-week stretch where you can sit him and feel like, all right, well, now we're gone.
We sat him already for 4 weeks or whatever, right? No, it's going to be a natural healing effect until, I guess, he potentially re-injures it, and then you'd have to look at shutting him down and then surgery. But he's good enough, and he wants to play, and he's a Bison, and he wants to be out there as much as he can, and he wants to help this team. And with the rule changes of, they could just say you have 5 years to play. But I guess you have 4 regular season games, and the playoffs constitutes a normal red shirt, and he still has that available to him because of the COVID stuff.
Is Cody Heisman playing his best football, or is that still yet to come?
No, I think it's still yet to come, but that's how talented he is. I mean, this guy's got a knack for the football. He's got a wrestling pedigree that where he can be in some awkward spots. I think he wants to sharpen his technique and his fundamentals and his pad level and play consistent, but he does really have a really nice feel for where the football is going and what types of blocks he's getting. And then he's just one of these guys that when he gets home, there's some bad intent, and we need that.
Speaking of Eli Ozick, is he okay?
He said, yeah, he rolled his ankle in the first half. And I said, well, damn, Eli, it's your plant foot. It's an ankle. I said, I don't know anything about it. And he went back out. We sat him out last night. You know, Eli's one of these guys that if you let him, he'll kick 400 balls a night. And he's a really good worker. Like, he has this routine that he goes through. And so Trish made the decision to shut him down last night. He informed me that he's strong and he'll be ready to go. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.